lead plumbing, link building, analytics. My favorite role of yours is, what do you think I'm gonna say?
I don't know what you're gonna say, but I just know that you're always throwing, what I tell people about my job is I just kind of do whatever these guys tell me to, because you have no shortage of ideas and you always bring them to me, and I feel like my job is to try to make it happen.
We're sitting here today with David Sides, the head of operations at RR Digital. I've known Dave for, gosh, going on 7 years, 8 years now.
8 years.
At this point. We've worked together, multiple companies, and today we're going to talk about what a director of operations actually does at a legal marketing agency, more specifically at our legal marketing agency. Dave, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
The director of operations role has evolved. You weren't always the director of operations.
No.
Why don't you tell everybody what your first role was with our company?
My first role was as actually a link builder, something that a lot of people may hear about in this industry, but early days of RR Digital, you guys needed link building, and that's what I was doing. That's how we first met.
Yep.
In my first job. I was doing link building for like 3-4 years. I really kind of just honed that craft and found what makes it fun and how to get the most links. So came to RR Digital 5 years ago now and built out the link building department as me being the only link builder to start.
Yeah, you were actually link building.
Yeah.
And then built out those processes. And what was great about having someone who understood the grind of link building, you were able to take the logistical requirements of that role and grind it out day in, day out, and learn along the way, like how it actually impacts SEO, because it evolved over the years.
Right.
So, we go back more than half a decade, and link building, what we know it today, right, was very different. Can you talk about like sort of the evolution of link building from when you first started doing it to, let's just talk about to like a year ago, because then we'll go into like what we've been doing over the past year.
Okay. So I would say when I first started link building, we were kind of just coming out of the Penguin update. So I actually never got to link build in those days. I wish I did. The Penguin update was basically a free-for-all, as you know.
Yep.
You could get links on the worst sites. They could be invisible and Google didn't know, and that could boost your site and your rankings. I came just out of the Penguin update. So we were focused in my first job on getting legitimate links, but it was much easier because basically you could mass email, not have to worry about your emails going through. It was so easy. We were getting links. Now, within the past, especially 2 years, these email providers like Google and Microsoft with Gmail and Outlook have gotten so strict that if you're not targeting the right sites in your outreach and your spam rate is just 1% higher, your emails are not going through. And it's been such a challenge to get over that and make sure the outreach we do is quality outreach and targeted. So yeah, that's one way. It's definitely gotten harder.
For those listening who don't know what link building actually is, at its core, when you look at what makes a site rank on Google or on any search engine, it's a combination of, I like to think of it in like a triangle. You've got the content, which tells Google what you should rank for. You've got the technical proficiency of your site, which is, can Google even see that it's there, right? Can it be crawled? Can it be crawled efficiently? And then you've got the things that will make you rank higher, right? And links have always been the core of that. It's definitely evolved over the years, but definitely backlinks are extremely important. And the better the links you have, the more relevant the links you have, the more links you have, essentially the higher you rank. That's like, if you had to boil link building down, that's really what it is. In addition to link building, your role has evolved over the past few years.
Yep.
Right. And your growth has been exponential. And this is like just a testament to people who are listening, who are like grinding it out in their SEO roles as link builders. Like, what can you make out of your job? And it just sort of kept evolving for you. So you went from link building to then you just sort of handling, like, we call them side projects, right? David Sides and his side projects, which then eventually became like a more formal operations role. So let's put link building to the side and talk about like the other areas of responsibility that you have as the head of operations at RRD?
So a head of operations at RD or really any firm is obviously going to be to make sure that everyone has the pieces in place they need to do their job across all of our departments. So managing the tools, making sure the proper workflows are in place for everything to come through, proper communication, all those basic things that you see. Specifically for us and in the legal marketing space, things that fall into operations are attribution, making sure that our clients' leads are going into the system, are being labeled correctly, which is always a challenge and differs from client to client. But without that, a lot of our work is really just going into a black hole where we don't even really know what's working and what's not working. So attribution is extremely important, making sure lead flow is working. Analytics also, so this was something within the past 2-ish years, I think we really dove into, use a platform called Domo.
Yep. David went to Domopalooza.
Domopalooza, I saw T-Pain and Shaq. That was pretty awesome. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Taking that work we do in attribution and then using a tool like Domo and analytics platforms to visualize the data and break it up and slice it and dice it and see what's working and give the people who are making the decisions easy access to this data to make those decisions.
Link building, business intelligence and analytics, visualization, which we originally were doing for ourselves. And then we wound up realizing like firms need this stuff to survive.
Yep.
One of the things that we do when we onboard a new firm is we figure out, or you figure out, how to get the data out of whatever case management system they're using into Domo. And Domo's like, it's a data warehouse and then a visualization layer on top. What are the case management platforms that you've come across over the past few years when integrating?
A lot of clients are on lead docket.
Yep.
And there's the lead docket FileVine connection. It's extremely hard to get data out of FileVine. So we usually go with lead docket, and there is attribution, assuming everything's set up correctly in lead docket. So we get all the leads out of that. My personal favorite, I don't know if I can pick favorites, is Litify. Domo has a very basic Salesforce connector. Obviously, Litify is built in Salesforce.
Yep.
So we can get everything out. We can time exactly when we want to get the data out. We can choose all the fields and columns we want exactly out of Litify. There's a few others: Law Ruler, Case Peer, Law Rank. No, not Law Rank. Law Ruler, Case Peer, Smokeball's one.
Smart Advocate.
Yep, that you got to usually use like a SQL query to get it out of Smart Advocate. So I've had some help to make sure we get that, the data we need. So yeah.
Each case management system is unique.
Yep.
Each has its own nuances. Some of them like Salesforce or Litify are like direct connectors, and you've got like accessing databases and queries, and
yeah,
some of them we just pull CSV exports.
Yeah.
Right.
A weekly email.
Yeah. It's really crazy to see the amount of data that we have access to and are using to make decisions, and how that data isn't visible before we step in.
Yeah.
And the law firms are like trying to piece together their decision making without actually having the entire picture.
Yeah. And one of the things we do right away when a client comes on is even if the client isn't set up or doesn't want to do the extra work to get attribution right in their system, we will immediately start seeing all calls, all forms, all chats from the site and seeing exactly where it came from, which landing page did it come from. Then when we take the data out of the client system, whatever it may be from, we combine that, we find the matching leads from our records, whether it's a call, form, or chat, match it with their one, and then now we can see, okay, this call came from this city's GBP location, and it is signed, or whatever it is. So we can, by that nature, we can finally start joining marketing data with the client's data and what status it is.
Sometimes it doesn't match though, right? Like you built this really cool exception report.
Yeah.
Where if the lead has a source on our side, because we know, right, it came in through CallRail, it has a specific source, or it came in through a form, and we have Damien, who runs our development, built an incredible way to track every time a form submission comes in. We capture exactly where that form came from, the refer, the landing page. So we have that data stored. Then you have whatever source it has on the client side. That dissonance there it's really shocking to see. Like sometimes firms have their intake people put the source in based on like, hey, where did you hear about us? Or whatever question that intake person happens to ask.
Right.
What would you say is like the volume of mismatches that you see?
Well, the way we do is, and I think it's the best way. I haven't come up with a better way, but we're going to look at the phone number. So what's the phone number in their system and what's the phone number in our system? Does that phone number match? Do the dates match? Because if the lead was created in the client system one day and then we saw it in our system 2 weeks after that, we know that in our system that actually didn't generate the case, right? I mean, when all's said and done, it really depends on the client, but you're looking at probably like 80% max matching that you could get, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So potentially 20% incorrect decision making
Yeah.
of marketing spend.
Yeah. Or, you know, there's things where we have to rely on the client's data. For example, if something came from a referral, we're not going to see that from the marketing side. Nothing in CallRail is going to tell you that. Nothing in the cookie from a form fill is going to tell you if it's a referral. So only the intake agent would know that, or someone at the firm. So there's cases where you can rely on the marketing data, and then cases where you have to rely on the intake team.
You kind of touched on this a little bit. I like to call it like the plumbing.
Yeah.
Right? Like connecting all the different systems together so that when a lead comes in, it actually gets where it needs to go as quickly as possible. Can you talk about some of the ways that you've seen that happen before you've stepped in and actually built the plumbing? A firm gets an email, right? And it goes to like a group email address.
There's been plenty of cases we've seen where lead comes in and it's probably just going to an email, or someone at the firm is notified and it's their job to put it into Litify or whatever it is. Well, anytime you're relying on humans to do something, it's not going to be 100%. You'd be lucky to get 80% out of that.
That's just like making sure it's accurate.
Yeah.
Input in correctly.
Yeah.
Well, like it being the requirement of a human to even put it in a system,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? They may not even all make it there, or it may take like, Joan is sick today, so the person who's supposed to do that isn't in, and like the lead winds up not getting called till the next day.
And they're probably just going to put in the basic information, the name, maybe a phone number. Is that phone number going to match actually the one that they called from, an email address? You're going to lose a lot of the stuff that would come in if we do it the other way, which is, how we would approach it is doing something programmatically.
Yep.
So can a form fill automatically go into the client system? So we have to, connect with APIs certain ways to make sure it does. And then also when that happens, like I said before, we have it go into our system the same way at the same exact time. So there's no split on when it's getting created in their system versus our system. So then we know, and hopefully the information, whether it's email, phone, is getting created the same way in both. So then we know what's what.
All right. So we've got lead plumbing, link building, analytics. My favorite role of yours is, what do you think I'm going to say?
I don't know what you're going to say, but I just know that you're always throwing. What I tell people about my job is I just kind of do whatever these guys tell me to, because you have no shortage of ideas and you always bring them to me. And I feel like my job is to try to make it happen.
Law firms, well, an agency needs that, but law firms need that too. Right? Especially at the pace of like technology advancement, of AI usage, of like all these different things you could do from a marketing perspective. You need someone that could sort of catch that idea and then like turn it into, how do I execute that for the business?
Right.
Properly.
Right.
That's kind of my answer, right? You've recently built out a team that takes all these AI ideas that Mark and I have and then turns them into reality. The first iteration of this was, we're going to build out lead scoring models. And that became a way for us to sort of triage valuable leads and then suppress the ones that really don't need to be risen up to intake right away.
Yep.
And then it evolved into, okay, floodgates open. And we came up with like all of these ideas of all these cool things that we can do. We started building out custom GPTs and custom gems to do like content auditing.
Yeah.
Right now we're building like AI call grading systems to listen to call transcriptions and determine whether or not intakes were handled appropriately. Of all those like projects that you were tossed, like what are the ones that stand out to you as like, these are things that really could make a difference if they are implemented and adopted?
For a firm?
Yeah.
Let me think about that. I want to go to, okay, one thing that I'm really proud that we built, and it's super cool, is there's a certain case type that we monitor, and we found websites that post this case type. We have a almost 100% automated workflow where anytime these websites post an update, we automatically scrape that information. We ingest it with AI. We extract the data we need. We then automatically create a form that's tailored. It talks about the specific information from that website we saw. We create ads for it with tools.
Like the actual creatives.
Yeah, the creative that you would see on Meta or Facebook. We even create the Facebook campaign with targeting using AI, and that uses the creative and uses the form. So that is like a full circle workflow that has helped us scale that particular project so much. It would be very hard to do anything near what we do without it. So yeah, that.
It's really cool to like think about what's possible as an end state and all the tools that are available to build stuff. Like the amount of zaps that we have it had gotten to a point where it's unmanageable. So we started building folders to keep things separate. But we have so much automation that runs throughout both the agency and for each of our individual firms.
Yeah.
Like we step into these organizations that are somewhat monolithic, like just gigantic law firms that have run in a way that is built for actually handling what they do, which is managing cases, whether it's pre-lit or litigation. And then we identify all of these different things that are like ways that you can incrementally improve. I think about what we do as an agency and what people think we do as an agency, and that dichotomy is just so different. Like I talk to people and they're like, you know, what do you do for a living? And I start off usually by saying like, I do marketing for lawyers.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, like that's cool. Like, do you like it? I'm like, yeah, but it's not the marketing. It's like what we do is we go into law firms and we find like all of the different ways that that firm can be improved. And yes, there's marketing components to it, right? You got to kind of fill the bucket. But once you fill the bucket, you got to convert the bucket. And then once you convert the bucket, you got to move it into matter handling. There's, you know, then you have to visualize it with analytics and all the different pieces. And when people talk about how AI has changed what we do, like the actual agency workflow, what people's minds go to immediately is like, oh, you're using AI to create content, right? If you talk to most agencies, like, and you ask them about that, yeah, like we're creating a whole bunch of content because we're using AI. Whereas like the things that you've been able to build, right, and conceptualize and execute on they are so much deeper than that.
Thanks to your ideas.
Well, it's less, I appreciate that, but it's less about the ideas, I think. And it's more about like truly understanding what would move the needle for a firm.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just me talking to a firm and then like handing them off to one of our marketing leads to go and like do SEO or run a paid campaign.
Right.
You know, we become embedded with these firms and we'll go and do on-site visits and we'll have like long strategy calls and we'll find opportunities and then we'll figure out how to bridge those gaps and fulfill those opportunities. And the end result is yes, more cases, right? And yes, we're doing SEO and yes, we're running paid campaigns, but there's just, you peel back those layers and it's so different.
The thing I love about operations is just the feeling of taking something that feels like a gear that's like trying to go around. It's just not going as smooth as it should. There's like junk and stuff in there. And then it just feels like you grease it. And then things start rolling smoothly. You need less people to look over this and they can focus on the other pieces of it. And then just once you're done taking a step back and looking at it, and you're like, oh, this thing is working pretty smoothly now. This used to be a pain in the neck. In legal marketing, there's no shortage of those problems. So there's always something to do.
When people think about like using technology and automation and workflows and AI, like a lot of times that conversation shifts to like replacing people.
Yeah.
And it's been the opposite.
Yeah.
Right? As you've added more of these like systems and automations and processes and workflows and like things that are triggered through AI, you've actually needed more staff to support it.
Yeah.
It's very much an inverse relationship, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I know there's like a lot of layoffs going on around AI and that's been in the news, but for us, the primary focus is how can our current people use AI to just do more and then scale this out, or can they not have to do this and do something else that we definitely need humans for, because there's plenty of that stuff too.
We are at no shortage of work to do. And that's what I love about how we've sort of evolved the way that we do the work that we do is it's not just like, let's build a system and like punt off work and like reduce labor. It's let's build a system and then figure out how we have people utilize that system within their process. A lot of times what I've seen, like as we built these processes over the past year or so, has been human to technology back to human.
Right.
And like that middle piece just accelerates the output exponentially.
Just like this is not anywhere near the max capability of AI, but I remember when I first started in operations, I would be trying to figure out like an Excel formula, and I would be going on Reddit threads, posting. It would take me like 3 hours to figure out how to do something complex. I'd be waiting for people to reply to me. I mean, now it takes 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And that is not even like the way that we like to use AI, because it's just isolated and we like to, build out a whole process. But those types of things, it's actually insane when you step back and you realize how much more are you accomplishing just with those tools at your fingertips.
Yep. So we started this conversation off talking about link building.
Yep.
Right. And link building is an operational procedure that you built a system around.
Yeah.
You've got how many link builders?
Close
working
to 50
for you right now? Close
50.
to 50 link builders.
Yeah.
Right. When we tell people like, hey, we've got 65 people at the agency, like we're not even counting the link builders.
No.
Right. It's absolutely insane the scale at which we've been able to execute this. Link building has evolved, and now we've sort of bundled digital PR in with link building. And of course, like we throw it over to side project.
Yeah.
Right. Like, hey, catch this and figure out how to make it work. Can you talk through like some of the things that you've been able to implement on the digital PR side and how they have helped out from an SEO standpoint or just like general marketing and branding?
Yeah, it's a good way to look at like how link building has changed in general, because when I first started, it was just get as many links as you can, get high domain authority links. This will improve rankings. I think this shift probably started with the advent of AI and ChatGPT and stuff, and we realized, okay, the way Google works, it's important to have links in that old-fashioned way, but also building up the brand and the authority and being cited in places and having like not just your name out there, but things are surrounding your name with context is also important.
Even without the link.
Yeah, even without the link, because these AI LLMs are crawling everything. Of course, this is one of the things you brought to us, and you were way ahead of the game and said this is what we need to get ahead of. So we started looking more into digital PR and figuring out how do we just get, show what the firms are doing.
I like to call it like taking what's happening offline and figuring out how to appropriately represent it online.
Yeah.
Right. You have to create that digital footprint of all the things that are happening in the real world. Otherwise, it like from a digital perspective, it doesn't count.
Let's say that there was something big that the firm did or big news. Don't let that go into the ether. Let's put out a press release or something and just get it out there. So, as you would with anything else that's noteworthy. And it goes to link building, but like you said, it's not even about the link. It's just about building up that brand and showing what the client's doing.
I don't know who to credit with this, but I was reading something online, I think it was on LinkedIn, and someone had mentioned that AI visibility has turned into a popularity contest. It's like, how much can you get mentioned across as many places as possible? And that's going to help your AI visibility. And if you think from that mindset of like digital PR is just like, how do I get my brand in as many places as my potential customers, clients will be, the better. You talk about press releases, like I put that as like table stakes, right? If people are thinking digital PR, I'm just going to put like a AP Newswire press release. That's not digital PR to me.
Right.
What are some of the other things that we're doing? Like talk through, you've had success with this. So let's talk about like real tactics that people can execute.
So here's something interesting we've done for some clients is we noticed organically we were getting links from, actually like interesting data that we were writing, statistics pages about a particular issue. And the theory is that journalists would be writing an article, they want to cite something, so they would search statistics about car accidents in this area, just as an example. So we had an idea, hey, how about we, as the firm, create our own first-party data that can answer this for people, because there's no shortage of people wanting this data, whatever it is. Even if they don't know they want this data, there's something that we can create that will be useful. So we started implementing surveys. We found a tool that we can create surveys. We can send out to a particular demographic we want, whether they're between a certain age, have kids, live in this region, whatever it is. So we did that, got some data, figured out some interesting things in a lot of these cases, wrote an article about it, and put that up. And, maybe we did a press release, and then also we're doing manual outreach with those. We're pitching it to people we think is useful, and we're getting coverage from that process and writing good content. We even just have it nationally ranking for things like perhaps it's driving statistics in the winter, something like that. And then nationally ranking from the efforts we've done on link building and just writing good content. Journalists have naturally found it and linked to it still.
Yep. It's really cool how the digital PR efforts in a vacuum are effective, but the amplification of like putting things together. So let's talk about like your survey, right? Your survey, you mentioned you send a press release out about it, right? Some of the other things that you can do are like you have an email newsletter list, right? At your firm, included in your email newsletter.
Yeah.
You have social media, post it on social media.
Yeah.
Create videos about it, post those videos on YouTube. Like the idea of, and you could do this with anything that you do at your firm, of finding every possible amplification point and figuring out what's the right message and medium for me to push out through that channel, this one singular thing that you created. So it could be this concept of, we've created this survey about X topic, and we're going to push it out through traditional PR to news, and we're going to post it on our social media, and in each of these different channels, you've created this unique piece of content from one singular source of information. And that's like this motion that you need to do if you actually want to achieve digital PR in the modern world, right? It's taking that one thing and then amplifying it as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Dave, I know what you do. I know how valuable you are. I know how valuable the role of an operations lead is at our agency. And I know how valuable operations is at firms, because we see it and how impactful you've been able to be stepping in and filling some of these gaps. So thanks so much for sitting down with us. Thanks for all that you do for our agency, and thanks for all that you do for our clients.
Thank you. Thank you, Jon.